You're watching Life Report, pro-life talk, real-world answers. Life Report trains people to more effectively defend their pro-life beliefs while honestly examining the strengths and weaknesses of both sides. We're the show other pro-lifers may have warned you about. This is Life Report.
Yes.
Good morning.
How's it going?
I want
Saturday
donuts.
morning. We're okay.
It's an early Saturday morning.
As soon as this is done, we're going to go get donuts
Yay.
before the next
Josh
episode.
promised me donuts, and that's why I'm staying on the show.
It's going to be so good. And it's just like 2 blocks down the street. And they are calling my name. Welcome to Life Report. This is going to be interesting to show. Although before we get into our pretty heavy topic, just because I know a lot of people have been emailing me, because apparently a lot of our iTunes listeners never go to our website. ProLifePodcast.net, really good thing to be able to go to, because if you subscribe with iTunes, for one thing, I'm not sure how you're listening to this right now. Secondly, we're having iTunes problems right now. iTunes is not updating our feed. And it's a whole technical thing, and I'm trying to work with iTunes to get it resolved. But right now, if you've been subscribing in iTunes, you probably have noticed for the last 2 months, no new episodes.
So you're basically preaching to the choir.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm doing. I'm like just realizing right now there's really no point in me saying this. Because every single time they email me, I'm like, okay, if you go to ProLifePodcast.net, I've got a whole little blog post. I put, having iTunes problems or whatever I've said. And there is a manual procedure you can do to fix it. But right now, it's not happening automatically. And so, all that to say, if you like to subscribe with iTunes, but maybe apparently somehow you are hearing this, then go to ProLifePodcast.net, search for iTunes, and there is a manual way to fix it if by the time this is published and whenever we haven't fixed it yet. So, all that having said, we've got a very good topic to discuss. As soon as I heard, and not a fun topic, but as soon as I heard this counter-argument, there's a new pro-life counter-argument that I'd never heard before. Now,
when you say pro-life counter-argument, does that mean that it's an argument countering pro-lifers, or it's a argument countering pro-choicers used by pro-lifers?
Good question.
So we're clear.
The latter. Countering a pro-choice argument, countering specifically the back alley argument that we need to keep abortion legal, because if we make it illegal, there'll be women being hurt, sometimes even dying in less than sanitary conditions. And we've talked about back alley abortions on at least probably 4 or 5 episodes. And one of the things that we've talked about, one counter argument we've talked about is the bank robber analogy. Do you make bank robbery legal so that it's safer for the felon? Well, no, because bank robbery is wrong. Okay, well, a good friend of mine, Trent Horn at Justice for All, who we're going to be having on a future podcast, I'm really looking forward to that sometime soon. He's come, I believe it's him. I don't think he's heard this from somewhere else, but I'm pretty sure if I'm totally stealing someone else's thing, then I'm going to feel really bad. But I think it's Trent has come up with a better counter argument than the bank robber to the back alley abortion thing, and it has to do with something with a topic that is a difficult topic, and I'm just going to give a PG-13 warning. If you're I know a lot of moms listen to our show. If you've got kids around, I would say maybe not this show, just because we're not going to graphically describe anything. We're not going to go into detail, but just the name of the topic that we're comparing this to would bring up questions of maybe very young teens that maybe you haven't discussed this with, and so I'm just going to give that warning ahead of time. Parental discretion is advised, but that topic would be female genital mutilation, which is this horrible thing that happens in Africa and some parts of the Middle East, and done on girls from infants to age 15 usually, and it's also an issue in America because a lot of people from Africa and these parts of the Middle East that have these cultural or religious reasons for doing that, they're immigrating. And so so this is actually happening in America a lot more often than we think, although in the U.S. under federal law it is absolutely illegal. Yes. So here would be the counter argument. This last year there was a whole controversy about this topic because the American Academy of Pediatrics came out with a suggestion that we allow doctors to perform like a ceremonial, pinprick, basically, on girls that would be done in safer conditions and would be much less debilitating than what is actually done in female genital mutilation. It'd be more like having an ear pierced.
And was this done out of concern because there were back alley female genital mutilations happening?
Yeah, it's basically being done in homes and under terrible conditions, under people that are not trained.
Right.
So if I understand you, the proposal is because of the current under the law, call it back alley,
underground.
FGM, that's the shorthand we're using. Because of those horrific things, the proposal is to have a trained medical personnel in a clinic office perform a much less debilitating and damaging procedure that is still female genital mutilation, but significantly less than what you're getting. And the reasons for this new proposal are
to protect. If I'm guessing, that the proposal is to protect those people who are doing this illegally or doing it to women.
No, I would say is to help the girls from having this horrible procedure done, having a much less horrible procedure done. And they said from the beginning, in the hopes of the eventual complete eradication of FGM. They said our goal is complete eradication, but for now, let's just make it legal let's try to encourage people to come in. It's like there's all this education going on. Why culturally this makes no sense. A similar thing happened with, it was mainly Chinese women in the early 19th century, foot binding. So eventually enough education happened and people realized this is actually a bad idea, it doesn't make any sense, and so people stopped doing it.
That was also made illegal though, even in China.
Oh, good point. I didn't know that.
What was the missionary? I read her autobiography.
No idea.
Who, I can't think of her name, who worked with the orphans in China, and she actually became a Chinese citizen and worked on because they made it illegal in China, and she was the one in charge of going around and unbinding the girls' feet when they were really young. Wow. Because they would bind them so that, it was debilitating for them to even walk. They had these tiny, adorable feet or whatever. That was the fashion of the time. And so eventually there weren't any girls with bound feet, so they just had to marry big-footed women, and they all learned, and their women could walk. It's not that bad.
This stuff is going on with that. There are people that going out to these countries that are educating, trying to get them to stop this. There's doctors that try to perform, help kind of fix the damage done. There's some hospital being built right now where this will be done for free. So there's other stuff being done, but they said, well, why don't in America let's just make it so it's not as bad for the girls in America that are having this done.
And what was the reaction to that?
Huge controversy from women's groups, from survivors of FGM, even saying, no, this is not acceptable. The only acceptable thing is complete. We cannot have this because it is a violation of basic human rights.
Right. The procedure is inherently wrong.
Yeah.
Correct?
So I don't want to jump the gun too much, but just to kind of bring it together in my mind, what they're saying is just because the illegal procedure of FGM is atrocious, horrific, and a disgusting violation of basic human rights is not enough reason to legalize the slight atrocity of legal FGM that is a halfway violation of human rights.
Right. That's correct.
So legal halfway reduction of rights is not a solution to illegal but still occurring complete removal of human rights.
Right.
Yes.
And so the AAP a month later rescinded their document where they were saying this, and the AAP president
AAP again is
American Academy of Pediatrics.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
And so there was a whole CNN story, and the AAP president had this quote. He said, "We retracted the policy because it is important that the world health community understands that AAP is totally opposed to all forms of female genital cutting, both here in the U.S. and anywhere else in the world."
Right.
So here would be the counter argument. Someone says, well, because the best pro-choicers would say, okay, I'll agree abortion is wrong and abortion kills children, but if you make it illegal, there'll be these women dying, that'll be worse, and so let's keep this bad thing legal, then my response is going to be, okay, now did you hear about this thing that happened with the AAP? Because and ask if they agree with the AAP rescinding that decision. You know, which camp would you have been in? Would you have been in the camp with the women's group saying, no, you can't ever do this? Or would you have been, oh yeah, let's let them, you know, have this ceremonial pinprick of girls' genitals? And if they're on the side of the women's groups, then that doesn't work anymore, because then if abortion is inherently wrong the way we say it is, if abortion actually does kill a human being, every successful abortion does, then it should be illegal regardless.
The only way to stop it, like with FGM, is to completely make it illegal and offer no services to that effect.
Well, I don't know if I would go as far as to say that's the only way to stop it, because I don't think that's the argument being made. The argument might be able to be made. It's not as much how fast you stop it, are you completely compromising?
Right. You don't want to condone
when
it.
you stop it. So this would be, you know, sometimes even in the pro-life world, there's that whole debate of incremental versus absolutism, and some people would say any incremental laws are complete compromise to that. And there would be some people would say, well, here, you're proving absolutism is correct. I disagree. I think that there are differences. I don't think all incremental laws completely compromise and actually say that abortion's okay. But there's a difference between that and saying you can actually do this ceremony on little girls.
Now, for that, what we're saying in terms of legal versus policy, procedure, and so forth, we are drawing the comparison to the FGM decisions, outcry, and public opinion as a comparison to the same types of discussion points that are raised with abortion. Now, that's not a how do we apply it legally, so forth discussion. That's a public opinion type of thing where how can we say, well, abortion should be safe, legal, and rare, but FGM cannot be safe, legal, and rare. It should be always illegal, even if the under the law, beneath the law practice of it is far more dangerous and worse than the alleged legal practice of it.
If it is 100% immoral, if FGM, if any kind of procedure, you know, mutilating girls' genitals is inherently wrong, inherently immoral, then yes, it should be illegal. And it would be wrong to say, okay, we can do a less bad procedure on little girls.
Now, I'll draw just for discussion, because this is something that comes up to my mind. I believe that I can't remember the technical name for it, but surgery to remove cancer should be safe, legal, and rare. Now, that's not to say that if someone has cancer, they should be denied that. I believe that there should be fewer people with cancer, because I believe that removing cancer, and we're not talking about pregnancy, biologically, pregnancy is not cancer. Any oncologist oncologist is cancer doctor. Any oncologist will say that. Now, I believe that should be safe, legal, and rare. I believe that root canals should be safe, legal, and rare. Rare because we brush our teeth.
That's right.
Because there's not a moral qualm involved with that. However, with FGM, female genital mutilation, that's immoral. Safe, legal, and rare is an absolute violation of human rights as much as abortion.
Yeah, I like the safe, legal, and rare argument, because if you're going to say that I think they're very parallel. The female genital mutilation and abortion. But if somebody agrees, or even if somebody says that, well, maybe it's okay to do the pinprick for FGM. Maybe that's okay because it's better than with abortion. We're not talking about let's go in and we'll do a ceremonial nick. And we'll send you back out and you'll be safe. No, it doesn't matter. There is no ceremonial abortion. It's the same thing. It may be more hygienic, but there's still a baby dying at the end of every abortion that's done even in a safe clinic.